Hi, my name is Lee Bass, and I'm going to be performing a persuasive speech for public speaking, and my instructor is Sandra Bowen. So, what if I told you that there was a substance that could be used to treat not only the world's number one killer, being cancer, but other diseases such as Alzheimer's, Crohn's, and epilepsy? And I got that from WebMD.com. And what if I told you that this substance was also legal in only 34 of America's 50 states for medical use? And that was from DISA.com. Now, the substance I'm referring to is marijuana. Since I have an aunt with cancer who underwent chemotherapy and was partially treated using a product related to marijuana, I have some personal experience with the subject. In this speech, I will discuss three main points regarding to the speech. The problems that comes with marijuana being illegal. Two, the causes being why it's illegal. And three, the solutions we can offer to help it not be illegal anymore and try to get marijuana to be legal. So before you can truly understand why marijuana being illegal is bad for America, you have to know why it's a problem in general and the repercussions it has throughout the country. So, problems with illegal marijuana in America. Increased criminalization. So, 24 out of 50 of the states in America have not decriminalized marijuana at all. And even though there's sufficient evidence that points to increased criminalization being bad for the country and the state. So, increased criminalization ultimately means more black market. So, basically, you're going to have more people getting things that are getting marijuana that's not going to be good for them. It's going to be bad, potentially laced. So that's when you see people dying from marijuana, especially with the vaping epidemic that happened. It was related sort of to marijuana, and people were lacing what people were consuming. And the overall law enforcement and groups of people of color is overall going to be worse because it's pretty discriminatory. Marijuana and the prohibition of marijuana in general. And the amount of crime that's caused by alcohol is about 10 times more than the amount caused by marijuana. And I got that from procon.org as well. Legalizing marijuana would promote people who usually drink to consume marijuana instead, more marijuana instead of alcohol. And this instantly reduces the crime rate in America. And overall, decriminalizing drug possession and investing in treatment and harm reduction services can provide major benefits for public safety and health. And I got that from drugpolicy.org. So some examples of this is improving relations between law enforcement and community, redirecting law enforcement towards much more serious crime. So you have law enforcement dealing with marijuana cases that they could be doing something much more productive. Say something's happening and you'll have more officers that are ready to actually handle that situation instead of handling something not as important as that. So that it also helps. It helps a lot. Economy is the second main problem. So the marijuana industry in the U.S. could exceed $24 billion in revenue by 2025, and I got that from procon.org as well. So what's really important about this is that it's not even accounting for the states that have not legalized marijuana yet. So with the COVID-19 pandemic at its prime right now, if marijuana was legalized, it could really kickstart the economy again for America. So that's really something that Americans should keep in mind, the government should keep in mind. Legalizing marijuana will also give a lot of jobs to the American people. It wouldn't give too many, but it would give some, and some's always better than none. So restrictions on medical treatments. One of marijuana's main ingredients, THC, is the chemical responsible for most of the psychological effects and is used for medicinal purposes. THC is the light yellow resinous oil, and that's what's used for medical treatments. And it's been used for thousands of years, and it's really impactful when you really do the research and go into it. When my aunt, who lives in New York, underwent chemotherapy recently for her breast cancer, she couldn't stop feeling nauseous and vomiting. And after trying Nabalone, the synthetic cannabinoid that acts much like THC, she immediately began to feel better and could be much more productive. And I got the facts from Nabalone from cancer.org. Without the legislation of marijuana, many patients, such as my aunt, wouldn't have had sufficient form of treatment that worked for them. And I feel like this is a really big step that we could take to allow people to have that treatment. So now that you understand the problems that marijuana being illegal brings, let's take a look at the overall cause of those problems. So causes of illegal marijuana. Not enough research. So one of the biggest reasons marijuana has been illegal for so long is that there's not been enough studies towards it. However, in the recent decade, you see that there's been many studies regarding marijuana and safety, but the public just really not informed as much. So the 1900s and so forth, after the Mexican Revolution, many immigrants were coming to America. And the government kind of used marijuana as a way to stop the Mexican immigrants from coming into America, so they could basically have an excuse. And that's kind of traveled into society today. And you can see that the government has more control than they should. And the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937 is the first ban of the use and sale of marijuana, and that's traveled to where we are today in policy changes. And we're starting to get more policy changes in the favor of legalizing marijuana. So since you've gotten some insight on the causes of illegal marijuana in America, let's take a look at some solutions we could utilize to further legalize marijuana. Government policy changes. So although marijuana is a topic that has been around for decades, states are now starting to realize the overall benefit that marijuana brings. So one example is that nabiximols, a cannabinoid drug still under study in the U.S. is being tested in clinical trials. I got it from cancer.org. So even though we know that, we're starting to test more things, which is overall better. And getting in touch with your state's a really important part as well. You can do this by emailing your governor and such. And since you've heard different solutions that can help to legalize marijuana in America and ways you can help yourself, let's summarize everything that we've discussed. So marijuana being illegal is bad for the country because it hurts relationships between law enforcement, people of color, and makes America miss out on the economic opportunity. It restricts many things, such as medical purposes. And if we as a nation can push for massive policy changes and state legislations and make our voices be heard, marijuana could be not only a safer alternative to alcohol for many people, but a very important treatment for individuals battling many different types of diseases. And thank you.